Hi everyone, let us discuss Leibniz rule. So let us try to understand the statement of Leibniz rule first. It says U be any open subset of R2. In this diagram you can easily see is a closed rectangle AB cross CD. In this diagram you can see we have a closed rectangle E which is subset of U, right? And we have a function f from U to R. The function is continuously differentiable. You can easily see here continuously differentiable. That means function is continuous, function is differentiable, and its derivative is also continuous. We have function g which is defined with the help of integral. Function g is a function of x variable, okay, and see this integration is with respect to y. So let us see how to find its derivative. The technique of finding derivative is very simple, okay. So we write integral as it is. We are finding derivative with respect to x, okay, integration as it is, and we simply take derivative of that function with respect to x, okay. So that is partial derivative we take. So let us start to prove it. So initially we fix some y belongs to closed interval CD. Let me mention we fix y belongs to CD. So in this diagram you can easily see we have some y, we fix some y. So let us use the given information. The given information is function is continuously differentiable. Let me mention it here. Then f is continuously differentiable for all x belongs to closed interval AB. Here we fix y, but x can vary, okay, in closed interval AB. So function is continuously differentiable. That means function is continuous as well as function is differentiable. So it satisfies both conditions of mean value theorem. So definitely we can apply mean value theorem here. So mean value theorem says, therefore there exists theta belongs to open interval 0, 1 such that I'm simply using the statement of mean value theorem here, such that f of x plus hy minus f of xy divided by h is equal to derivative of f with respect to x plus theta hy. We will have this one. See, theta belongs to open interval 0, 1. Very important thing, huh? So here y is fixed, but x can vary, so we apply mean value theorem. After that, what will I do? I will shift h on that side. See, let us see what will we have. So see, therefore f of x plus hy minus f of xy, right, is equal to h fx. See, we can denote this partial derivative in that way also. X plus theta hy. I am calling it as equation number 1. This is my h, okay. So this is very important equation we have got. We are going to use it later. See, there is no more space to write. Make a screenshot of it, then we will go further. Let us use given information now. We have a function g of x, okay. I have written here g of x is equal to this one, right. So with the help of this definition of g, we can find g of x plus h also. Let us find. So therefore g of x plus h. Technique is very simple. Simply we will replace x by x plus h everywhere. So integration c to d f of, we have x, so we should write x plus h y dy. So let us subtract first equation from second. Let us see what will we have. So therefore g of x plus h minus g of x. Value of g of x plus h is this integral. Let me write it here. Okay, so f of x plus h y dy minus integration c to d f of xy dy. See, we can take that integration common, right? So integration c to d. So in bracket we will have f of x plus hy minus f of xy, right, dy. Have you seen this bracket anywhere? Yes, in equation number 1 already we have got expression for this bracket. Let us use equation number 1 here. So integration c to d, from equation 1 we had got h into f of fx, right, partial derivative of f with respect to x plus theta hy dy, right. I should mention from 1. After that, see, we are integrating with respect to y. So h is constant. We can take it outside the integral. So yes, let me write it here. So therefore we can write here. So therefore g of x plus h minus g of x. We are taking that h outside. Okay, that h outside. Then we will have integration c to d fx x plus theta h y dy. Shall we shift this h on this side? Yes, definitely. Here we have a multiplication. So if you shift it here, we will have a division. So g of x plus h minus g of x divided by h is equal to integration c to d fx x plus theta h y dy. Okay, I'm calling it as equation number 2. That this is also very important equation. We are going to use it later. Okay, so make a screenshot of it. After that we will go further. As I told you earlier, we have a information if it's continuously differentiable, right? Continuously differentiable means function is continuous, it is differentiable, its derivative is also continuous. So see, fx is also continuous on E, right? And E is closed and bounded set. As I told you earlier, E is a rectangle, closed rectangle, so it's a closed and bounded set. So when we have any function, okay, continuous function which is defined on closed and bounded set, definitely it is uniformly continuous. So therefore what can we write? Therefore we can say implies f is, let me mention, so f is uniformly continuous. Okay, it is uniformly continuous. So reason is the function is continuous and the domain, okay, on the set where the function is defined, it is closed and bounded, uniformly continuous on E. So we can use the definition of uniform continuity here, epsilon delta definition. Okay, so for that we should have some epsilon. Let us take one epsilon first. Let epsilon greater than 0 be given. So let us use the definition of uniform continuity. So uniform continuity says, so therefore for given epsilon there exists delta greater than 0 such that norm xy minus uv less than delta implies mod f of xy. I should write fx is uniformly continuous. Okay, so fx xy minus fx uv less than epsilon, by simply using definition of, I think this is equation number 3. See, using definition of uniform continuity we could write it. A function is fx is continuous and it is defined on closed and bounded, so that's why it is uniformly continuous. And definition of uniform continuity says for given epsilon greater than 0 there exists delta greater than 0 such that norm of this 2 less than delta implies fx of this one minus fx of this one less than epsilon. See, function is defined on subset of R2, so that's why I should apply norm here. But see, codomain is a subset of R, so that's why I applied mod here, right? One adjustment I'm going to do, that is instead of epsilon, I'm going to write epsilon by d minus c. It's simply an adjustment, right? So see, after that, what will I do? I'm going to find distance between 2 points. Okay, so let us find. Consider. See, I'm going to consider points norm x plus theta h y and xy. So we have these 2 points of R2 and we are going to find their distance. Okay, distance between these 2 points. See, you know well how to find the value of norm. Component wise subtraction. Okay, so first component minus first component, xx will get cancelled, theta h. Second component minus second component, 0. We are familiar with definition of norm, so which is equal to square root of first theta square h square plus square of second, 0. What will happen? Square and square root will get cancelled to each other, getting? But see, I'm going to consider positive square root, so mod theta mod h. But as you know, theta belongs to open interval 0, 1. So therefore, mod theta cannot exceed the value 1. So let me mention this is less than 1 into mod h, 1 into mod h, which is equal to mod h. Let me mention the reason. The reason is theta belongs to open interval 0, 1. So that's why we could write it. After that, I'm going to set the value of mod h. So see what I'm going to do. So we take mod h less than delta. Our value of h is any real number, getting? So its mod should be less than delta. This thing we are going to consider. Then what will happen? Then let me mention, then norm x plus theta h y minus xy. We have already calculated its value. What is its value? less than mod h, less than mod h. But just now we have considered mod h is less than delta. So this is less than delta. Okay. So norm of these 2 points, norm of minus these 2 points is less than delta. So we can apply 3 here. So see, norm xy minus uv is less than delta, then we can write this one. Simply at a place of xy, we have the first bracket, and at a place of uv, we have the second bracket. So let us apply this expression number 3. So it says mod fx of first bracket x plus theta hy minus fx of second bracket, which is xy. See, this is less than epsilon by d minus c. Okay, I should mention from 3. A very important thing we have got here. I'm calling it as 4. I'm calling it as 4. So this inequality plays very important role in the proof of this Leibniz rule. Okay. See, we have some space here, but after that we have some huge equations. So it is not possible to write it here. So make a screenshot of it. After that we will go further. Let us consider this mod now. Okay. So g of x plus h minus g of x upon h, this value we have already calculated, right? So this integral, it is given in a statement of Leibniz rule. Getting? So that same integral I have taken here. So let us try to find its value. So what will I do? This is equal to this value already we have. Okay. I think in 3, equation number 3 we have. So let me mention. So integration c to d, it is yes, fx x plus theta hy dy minus integration c to d fx xy dy. Okay, so we have already have, let me mention from 2, I think, from 2. Yes. See, after that what can we do? Simply I put its value which we have already calculated. So now we can take integration common. Say this is equal to mod integration c to d. So here fx x plus theta hy minus fx xy dy, right? Mod complete. See, when you take mod inside, value will get increased. So that's why less than or equal to integration c to d. I have taken that mod inside the integral. Fx x plus theta hy minus fx xy. Okay, so dy. See, this thing already we have seen. Okay, so from 4 we can say its value is less than epsilon by d minus c. So this is less than integration c to d epsilon by d minus c dy. I should mention from 4. See, epsilon by d minus c is a constant. So when we solve the integration, we take a constant outside. So let me take it epsilon by d minus c outside. So see there, which is equal to epsilon by d minus c integration c to d dy. What is integration of dy? Y. So let me write it here. So this is equal to epsilon by d minus c y c to d. So when you put upper limit, lower limit, you will have d minus c. This d minus c will get cancelled to each other, and simply we have epsilon. So that is, let me mention, that is, we started with what? Mod g of x plus h minus g of x divided by h, right? Minus integration c to d fx of xy dy, and we got this is less than epsilon. Mod of this one is less than epsilon. The same thing we can write in terms of limit also when it is less than epsilon. So therefore limit h tends to 0 g of x plus h minus g of x divided by h is equal to integration c to d fx xy dy. Okay, so same thing we have written in terms of limit. Have you seen this type of limit anywhere? Yes, this is definition of derivative, right, which we have already studied in 11 or 12 standard. So see, this is nothing but simply g dash of x. So this is equal to integration c to d fx xy dy, right? Finish. In this way we have completed this one. So we had a function g of x, and we proved that its derivative is g dash of x is equal to integration c to d partial derivative of f with respect to x dy. Okay, make a screenshot of it, then we will stop. Thank you. Bye bye.